Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 550. Let's see, we are Wednesday, so it would be
559, because of the jump ahead with the double up shows.
Okay, yes, 559 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network.
I know that's going to screw up your count because Mondays used to end in a 4 and Fridays ended in a 9, so it's now.
Yes. So now it was, but now I always have to do like add 9, then add 2.
Yeah, exactly. Or not, number plus 2. So yeah.
Eventually I'll figure out what the weeks end in, and then I'll know. But like for now, I'm in the flux because I'm still writing the old numbers while saying the new numbers. Right. So when I'm doing the episode descriptions until I get to this Monday show, so it's like or last Friday show, sorry, and then it's like so, but yeah. That's okay. That's good. We'll figure it out eventually.
Oh, just an FYI, I did the edit for the audio issue. That's on both the live and the replay version. It's edited.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Took care of it.
Yes. That was the one the other day, Kits, when you told me that my audio went scratchy. And for some reason, I was reading an article. So I didn't see you tell me in the chat. And I went on for it. So yes, we edited that out. The magic of Grizzly. And there, darn, I should have a way to prompt you to get the harp ready without having to say it, like a quiet way. So I could like telepathically to like tell you like, and here's the magic of Grizzly.
That should be the go word, the magic of Grizzly. I just got to remember that and have it ready to go here. It's not always ready to go.
Mr. Grizzly, work your magic, please. I don't know why that makes me always feel so happy. See, I think most kids and cubs, most queens, when they enter the room, they have clarions and all those trumpets, and I think I just want a magic of Grizzly. I have arrived, kids, and then my theme music. All right, kids and cubs, today recording day is, it's Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, and I think it'll be a pretty good day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm not sure how much sunshine we're going to get. So far, it doesn't look like we're lining up for that, but you don't know, right? Sometimes.
We could always use this as sort of a secondary, if you will. Instead of the harp, we could do this.
Trump.
Yeah, we're doing the Trump dance. I know what you're doing.
Sorry. So, just Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, kits and cubs.
A little early in the morning for that. I saw
Oh, I
something
love
the other
that.
day
I
that
love that.
Well, I saw something the other day. It said, if you're feeling down or low or anxious or in need of friendship, how about standing in a room for 8 hours with friends, moving your body to the sounds of oomtsa, 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 oomtsa. I thought, hey, yeah, that always cheers me up.
And you do make friends.
Yes. Oh, for those of you who are curious what that sample is, it's from BKS, I'm in Love with You. One of the all-time dance
Love
floor
that
bangers.
song.
One of the greatest of all time, by far.
I'm
It's
in love with you.
Sandy
What you
Denny's on
gonna
the
do?
vocals. Chris Shepherd. That particular track, if you go on YouTube, you can just type it in and you'll find probably several million streams of it on YouTube.
Oh, yes.
And just read the commentary, and people are going 30 years on, still one of the greatest songs of all time for,
Oh, yeah.
for dancing, for house music,
Yeah. Well, it's well, first of all, it's got that deep sound.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then
And
it's
it's
got
the organ.
Yeah. And then that that's so dirty and dark. Ugh, I love that. It speaks to my soul.
Yeah.
That's the kind of music on the dance floor that just comes and grabs me by the soul. Says, come on and shake your hips and move your shoulders to this. Ugh.
It's the deep organ sound. I mean, that was what made Robin S. so popular with her tracks. It was that that deep, dark organ dubby vibe.
Yep. Indeed. I remember that. Oh, God, I love those days. Astrolite, I missed you so much.
Astrolite. That became Penrod's.
Penrod's, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I helped build that place, too.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, I worked there.
Kits and Cubs. Did we get to thanking our sponsors? Let's pretend we didn't, and let's just do it again. The Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir? I think you're chatty and chipper.
Yeah, I don't know why, to be honest with you. I don't know why I am, and I say that because, sorry, my camera's gone, because I don't have my regular camera, because it's gone haywire. So there we go. The lighting's been all off with this one. I'm using an older one. So, yeah, I went to bed sometime after midnight and woke up at 2, 3, 4, 5, and then finally at 6. So let's just say I slept, but it was interrupted the whole night. So it was like several naps. So I should be, hating myself right now. And I don't for some reason. And I'm feeling energetic, and I think today is going to be a productive day. Yesterday, I got some stuff done. I managed to squeeze an ASMR in, and then that kind of zapped all of my creative energy. So I didn't get any tech work done, no production work done, other than the two videos I fixed. I just, yesterday wasn't the productive day I was hoping for. Today feels like it's going to be.
I like to hear that. Good stuff.
Feels like it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay. So in the news, Kits and Cubs, two pretty big bits of information, because, of course, the big story here in Canada is the Liberal leadership race. And a few days ago, we brought to you the story of a contender who thought that a really good opening move for her first interview that would be brought to the public in her non-official still run, because she probably wasn't declaring yet, but she was just coming on to say that, she wasn't all pro carbon tax anymore. Christy Clark decided that she would tell a lie, and not a lie about something really important or scandalous, not a lie about something one may have done when they were young and needed the money, not a lie about having signed something while in office that personally benefited her or something. No. A lie about having bought a membership in a party other than the one she represented was labeled as outwardly, because, I mean, we all know that BC Liberals were really BC Progressive Conservatives. There was just no Conservative Party to speak of in BC.
Correct.
Similarly, in Quebec, where it was Federalist Separatist politics, and when you got to the provincial politics, well, it was the Quebec Liberal Party or the Parti Québécois, pretty much at that time. So it was either Federalist or Separatist. And again, there was no actual conservative option. So you had two liberal in name premiers in
Correct.
provinces where there were no conservative parties to speak of, who were really more progressive conservatives. I mean, no more than Jean Charest. I mean, he was actually the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, and then went to lead the Quebec Liberals. So, so stating that she was a lifelong liberal was a stretch for a lot of people, because one of the things with Christy Clark, as soon as she was announcing that maybe she was looking into it, is like, no, my God, not her. She's not a liberal. She's a conservative. What people believe. Not conservative as far as Pierre Poilievre is, but definitely on the conservative side of the ledger. So more progressive conservative, though. And well, she wanted to say, I'm a lifelong liberal, because, of course, she's with the Liberal Party. But, I mean, in her soul, she's a progressive conservative. Now comes a progressive conservative race, and Jean Charest, who was Premier of Quebec around the time she was Premier with British Columbia, good colleagues, ideologically similar. I want to support my friend. I'm going to buy a membership. It's not like she joined the organization team or anything like that. I'm going to buy a membership. I'm going to ask for my ballot. I'm going to vote for him. And I'm going to vote for him because he's the best to beat Pierre Poilievre. He's not acceptable, which is consistent with her position of wanting to run for Liberal leadership.
Yes.
But also because I think Jean Charest will be devastating to Justin Trudeau. Not conducive with run for the Liberal leadership, because you were looking to choose somebody as a conservative to get rid of the Liberal leader in place. Doesn't make you much of a liberal, I would say. So, but now you're a liberal. That's fine. You represented a party that was called Liberal. Some people might be inclined to buy that.
Some might, yeah.
But then, because there's a rule that says you can't be the member of another party in the year that you are, as you are signing up. So they're not even asking you to have not been a member for another party for a year. They're just like, don't be a member of a party now. So resign your membership from another party, and then become our party, and then you can only run for our party, which is kind of reasonable for someone to ask in terms of the party. So they ask her, well, I mean, you've been a member of the Conservative Party because, of course, you got Jenny Byrne and all these people out there looking to take a little tiny kernel of truth. You had for 1 year membership in another party. Therefore, you were never really a lifelong liberal. Because to play on the whole division already that people, oh God, not her. She's not a liberal, right? Just just stir a pot a little bit. There's already a problem with the enemies. Like this, I always believe, right? It's a little bit like Napoleon, never interrupt an enemy when they're imploding. So the Conservatives saw that there was this rift happening between Christy and not Christy. She's not a real liberal. And instead of just letting it happen and grabbing some popcorn, they decided to, let's see if we could get involved in here and let's throw a little something. All right. But it appears that it is true that she did have a membership. And there's video of her saying,
yeah, she came right out.
That she's got it.
She was doing it for.
Yeah. So there's actually video and newspaper articles and all of that kind of stuff. So she's asked, and she said she was never a member of the Conservative Party. Just never got her ballot, kind of stuff, did not vote. But then later on in the interview, she says she called the party to ask about her ballot. Well, if you never bought a membership, why would you be expecting a ballot? So much so that you would want to ask where it is.
Of the membership that you don't have, according to
and of course, if your membership in one party means that you can't be a member in another party, then clearly somebody's going to start asking questions about, do you have any proof of your no longer membership in the previous party if your membership in that party? So, and their things were not that great either. And then she tried to explain it away with, oh, well, shit happens. Lesson learned. I misspoke.
No, you
No, no.
lied.
Misspeaking is, when you're 5'6", but your mouth goes faster than your brain, you say you're 6'5". You flip something. That's misspeaking.
Everybody can clearly see you're not 6'5".
Yes. Although I did get caught in an audition once like that, because the talent agency put 6'5" instead of 5'6" on my thing, and it was casting for a print ad. So I took the bus all the way to Toronto, and I walked in the room, and people are looking up, and I walk in, and they were very nice and everything. But it's only when I got back home that I found out that the print ad was for Labatt's Blue and it involved people playing basketball. I'm 5'6".
Yeah. Well, you can still play basketball, but I don't think that you were necessarily the target.
Well, especially like with the uniform visuals and heights, right? You want a whole bunch of people of similar heights, or right for the.
They weren't trying to audition a white Spud Webb,
and they weren't trying to audition the sequel to White Man Can't Jump, Little Brown Man Can. So I just.
The funny thing, Spud Webb was 5'7".
They were very nice to me, though. Pardon?
Did you know Spud Webb was 5'7" and played in the
NBA?
Oh
yeah. No, I'm not saying you can't be talented, but it's like I was not what they were expecting when I walked through that door, like at all. So they were very nice and very polite and let me audition, but it was like. It's like, yeah, they're not going to call.
You mentioned the film White Men Can't Jump. Want to know the irony in that? So Wesley Snipes is the basketball street ball player,
right,
who forms a 2-on-2 with Woody Harrelson's character.
Right.
The irony of that is, in reality, Woody Harrelson is an incredible basketball player, and Wesley Snipes had never played basketball before in his life.
No way.
I saw an interview and he's like, oh no, here's the thing. Woody can jump. He's from Indiana.
Right.
That's like basketball in Indiana is like hockey in Canada. It's a religion in that state. And Larry Bird is from French Lick. Larry Bird was one of the greatest players of all time. So yeah, the irony being, of course, that, White Man can't jump, but Woody actually can. And Wesley Snipes had never played basketball before. That's why they call it, what's that word again, kids? Acting.
Genius.
Did you know that Spud Webb could dunk, by the way? He had a 42-inch vertical.
Jeez.
So that's over a meter. You could go straight up.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So yeah, all this stuff kind of happened, and then like I said, came up with oops, I misspoke, shit happened, lesson learned. To which I'm rolling my eyes and I'm thinking, gee, with the career you've had, if you've only learned this lesson just now, wow, you are toast. You're so not ready for prime time. And speaking of, well, yesterday, you may have been calling out for Dr. Penfield.
Yeah.
At some point, because Christy Clark came out to announce that she's not running.
It was a big shocker.
Anymore. So I would like to say called it. Like as soon as it's like, oh no, she's toast. You can't. I mean, listen, there just wasn't enough runway. Maybe if it was a 4-month campaign, you could stay in there and make people forget 2 months down the road that you did do that, or somebody stumbles, but there's not enough runway. And there are so many serious candidates, particularly with Mark Carney, what he just did on the Daily Show. I mean, if Christy Clark ever, her only hope in hell was that Mark Carney was as wooden as a board.
Well, that, and we had collective amnesia because, I mean, come on.
So there was no path, but here again, right? I never had a membership lie. I didn't get my ballot. lie, because I think the ballot came when you had the thing. Maybe she didn't use it, but I mean, they don't track your. I'm pretty sure they don't track. I hope they don't track your ballot. Did you vote or not, and have that in your records? Because that's not information they should be collecting. And then, of course, saying that she misspoke, which of course is another lie. Yesterday, I want to thank the hundreds of volunteers across Canada who've pledged their support for me over this past week. We put together an amazing team on very short notice. But friends, I have made the difficult decision to step back. I'm going to guess that that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess it was a damn easy decision. Okay. I mean, difficult for the ego to take because stepped in it. But I'm pretty sure the decision itself was real easy to take. While we have come a long way, in a short time, there is simply not enough time to mount a successful campaign and for me to effectively connect with Francophone Canadians in their language. And while there might be a kernel of truth in that, that's a lie. We all know that's not the reason you decided not to run. We heard you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I have worked hard at improving my French, but it's not where it needs to be today. I won't be in this leadership race, but I won't stop fighting. That's the only reason,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's this face, Mr. Grizzly?
Color me, I don't give a shit. Unimpressed.
That's my unimpressed face. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I won't be in this leadership race, but I won't stop fighting. Pierre Poilievre would rather attack Canadians than call out Donald Trump. In this case, she means me when she says Canadians. We need the Liberal Party at the top of its game. See my full statement here. And then she's got a full statement, but that was the tweet. But you know what? Normally, kits and cubs, I am the type who's courteous enough to read the full statement. And, she has a couple of things here about Pierre that I believe and could read, but I think she's gotten enough airtime and she's wasted our time long enough. When you stand up in front of a mic and go into a camera and you're in politics and you just bald-faced lie, you're wasting our time. And our time is precious. It's a fast world for us too. So thanks for nothing, Christy Clark.
Thanks for
and particularly at this moment where the Liberal Party is going through some difficulty and you got one party calling it liars and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for getting the leadership race off to that kind of start. Because that's what the party really needed. Well done. Bravo. Selfish. It's just not a team player. All right. So she's out. Also out, and this one was kind of telegraphed, is Francois-Philippe Champagne. Unfortunately, he went to an event yesterday. I mentioned was scheduled, and opened it up and was the thing with Francois-Philippe Champagne is he's a very gregarious gentleman, and he's also pretty much nicknamed the Energizer Bunny. So he had a really good chance in one sense if somebody was going to slip up the middle if he was going, particularly with Dominic LeBlanc not in the race, because he's genuinely really, really well liked. And he's just so energetic, but with his particular portfolio innovation, he's literally all around the country all the time, making announcements, networking. He's got a very good network, particularly when it comes to signing people in each one of the electoral districts, because, the party systems, the systems that parties use to choose their leaders, they give every riding something like 100 points and how many people you get to sign in each. So Nunavut is worth as much as Brampton. depending where you organize and whatnot. So the bigger network, the more you've had an opportunity to travel across the country and build little networks, the more opportunities that you're going to like score in each one of those electoral districts. And he's kind of got that job where he's going around the country and spreading announcements and money around. Right. So he had a very good chance. But Dominique Leblanc kind of set the table for this by being the Minister of Finance and the minister in charge of the border, and seemingly inside the caucus favorite by doing the statesmanship thing, saying, everybody's saying that, Canada's leaderless. Well, we'll show them that it's not. I'm going to provide stability, which means there's four key portfolios when you're dealing with Trump and trade. Finance, border security, that's one. Foreign affairs, which led to Mélanie Joly deciding that even though she had a good organization, even though she thought she could win, that she's going to stay aside. And now we have Francois-Philippe Champagne at international trade. The fourth one is Jonathan Wilkinson at energy and natural resources. Right. So Francois-Philippe Champagne not going does open the door for Jonathan Wilkinson. And it seems that Christy Clark also saying no really opens the door for him now, because she was BC and he's Saskatchewan, right? In terms of where they come from.
Well, let's remember just a few weeks ago, everybody was saying the sky is falling, the Liberals are finished, that's it, they're done, they're stabbing each other in the back, and there's no leadership, and wow, how quickly the tables have turned.
It's the thing that we have been saying on the show since we've started. The one thing about this party is the bench depth and the bench strength.
Yes.
The Conservatives are lining up to be another party of one again, like it was under Harper.
Yeah.
There's Pierre.
Only Pierre, because nobody's allowed to speak to the press or any other members of Parliament. He won't allow.
And one or two key people, a Kenny and a Baird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
We trust to speak every now and then. So he's got a Lanceman and maybe who the other one is yet. Not sure. But that's it. That's it. There's you could drown in a saucer of soup, face down in a saucer of soup. The depth in that party. So, God. So we have the two candidates, Francois-Philippe Champagne also. So he said also, sorry. Pardon me.
Oh, no problem.
Champagne told a crowd at the Canadian Club in Toronto that he wasn't running because he needed to focus on dealing with incoming Trump administration south of the border. Because, of course, Trump has promised to impose 25% tariffs on all imports from Canada and Mexico on January 20th, the day he is inaugurated. And it seems indeed that that those are coming. Based a little bit on what Danielle Smith has been saying, it would appear that her trip to Mar-a-Lago, allegedly organized by Kevin O'Leary, who allegedly has something going on in Alberta about some AI center that's going to put a lot of millions in his pockets somehow. I'm not exactly sure how all of this is sort of linked together, but it is linked together somehow, and it doesn't really smell good. I probably have to ask Nate Pike about it. But yeah, went there early, 2 days. Apparently, according to word on the tweet, is that those pictures that you see with her with Trump is pretty much the entirety of the time she got to spend with him. I think they say that she got about like 2 minutes with him on two separate occasions, put together or arranged somehow by O'Leary. It's the word. I don't know how substantiated that is, but that's the story that's sort of out there and circulating. And that she came back home not only empty-handed, barely a pat on the head because she wasn't in his presence long enough, and informing people that he is serious about the tariffs. They are coming, even on oil. So she went down there for validation and didn't get it in any way, shape, or form, and got absolutely nothing for her troubles. No special carve out for her as she was selling out the rest of Canada. So she did all of that for nothing, which makes me wonder, is she still going to be staying in Washington, D.C. for 6 days? And is she still as eager to go to that inaugural ball now? Because that's pretty humiliating.
Very much so.
You went there with Kevin and Jordan.
Yeah.
You went for your audience. You went to do the kiss the ring. Basically, he did the same thing to her as he did to Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't care what he has to say. Oh, hi. Yes. Oh, yes. You want me to not carve out your oil. Okay. And you are.
Yeah, he doesn't even know who she is, and he doesn't care. And she's just
he likes
lining
celebrity.
Up to kiss the ring.
He likes celebrity. Again, kits and cubs. He's not looking for another Carrie Lake. He's got one.
Yeah.
And I think he made her. He made her the director of Voice of America. So he put her like way, way far away. Like even he doesn't trust her. He didn't give her a big thing. It was like, okay, Voice of your media here. You go take Voice of America. Okay, run along now. Shoo. Have fun with your toy.
Yeah. VOA's daily radio address, usually by the president, not necessarily. I mean, there was a time when the president did do a daily radio address, but I don't think that's Trump's capable of it. He'd rather just tweet it.
Yeah. So.
Well, apparently, while he was in the White House the first time around, he never got out of bed before noon.
Yeah. So I mean, Danielle plays well on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's telegenic and all that kind of stuff. But he doesn't need a Carrie Lake. And then Pierre Poilievre. Oh, great! Another slim guy with glasses, with a high-pitched voice and a blue suit, trying to play me. Boring. So. And all of a sudden, you know, you had Trudeau, and he loved calling him the 51st, governor, because every time he did that, he would get a ton of press because Trudeau's a celebrity. Well, Mark Carney's a celebrity. Trump will probably be talking about Mark Carney a whole lot. He would also talk about Chrystia Freeland because Chrystia Freeland got the best of him. So if he wouldn't shut up about her if she was named. It's like, that hurt.
Mark Carney is known globally and respected globally for what he did. Remember how he saved our asses in 2008 during the global financial crisis? We were one of the only countries not to go into a full-blown recession. Who put him in that position again? Oh, right, Stephen Harper. And they bragged about him nonstop, praised him the same way they bragged and praised David Johnston. But the second they do something that runs afoul of your narrative of what that person should be, you throw them under the bus and diminish all of the good work they've done throughout their entire life because it suits your narrative. These
recent Exhibit A, Aaron O'Toole.
People. Yeah. The former leader of the party, Jenny Byrne, just threw him right under the bus.
The other person she threw under the bus was this guy named Walid Suleiman, who apparently was Aaron O'Toole's campaign manager. Yeah. So I listened to the thing with David Parker and James last night. It seems that this is not James with David Parker. Listen to David Wallace. It seems that this is all related to the David Parker being thrown out of the UCP and being on a revenge tour against Pierre and Jenny specifically.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be watching that after we finish up because I didn't get a chance to see it last night.
Mm-hmm. So this is one of the things. It seems that Jenny and Pierre have a David problem, even because David has had his toy taken away from him with UCP. So he's out for revenge. So he's really out. So basically, David, knowing the type of person that he is and the type of tactics that he uses, basically has a no fucks left to give approach to Jenny and Pierre at the moment. So when people are talking about, it seems that based on the conversation, when they're saying, watch out for Doug Ford, it's maybe not necessarily that Pierre is going to be booted from the party itself and Doug Ford is going to slide in to take his place itself. And maybe not that he's going to start a new party, but he's maybe going to be the miracle worker or the magic man or the key player that makes stuff happen. So that whatever is leading the Conservative Party, and some rumors that the party will probably implode sometime by 2027 with all that infighting and stuff, and maybe a few investigations. Who knows? But they don't like each other. They're doing very well at keeping things under the surface right now because they have a chance at winning. So they have some discipline, but they are sniping behind the scenes at each other. They are really sniping. It's outright civil war. Whereas on the Liberal side, they've taken a couple of hits and it looks like the boat is sinking. But you have Leblanc, Joly, and Champagne, all three of them putting personal ambition aside to provide the sense that we actually do have a strong government to back up whoever that next leader is going to be. That next leader is going to be very well backed up, and assuming that leader is either Freeland or Carney, you're going to have a serious leader with serious backup. Again, this is a party that seems that it is not considering itself, we're definitely losing this next election, and we are just competing to save the furniture. They're competing to win.
We'll talk about turning things around on a dime. My goodness. And here's something that I'm going to post on the screen here. I learned this a minute ago. Fun fact, Mark Carney was awarded his Order of Canada in 2014 when Stephen Harper was still PM. Award came from Governor General David Johnston, who was Stephen Harper's pick. You notice that both those gentlemen have since been admonished by the Conservative Party?
Spurned. The only thing they haven't done is said, I'm not sure I knew them. I think they got coffee for us.
Yes, that's the only thing you're missing out on. This is not a party of good people. They're acting like Carney and Johnston literally stabbed somebody or shot them in the street when none of that happened. All they did was their job.
And the entire time, they did their jobs back then. It was exemplary. I mean, David Johnston was brought in after they helped Harper government with the Oliphant inquiry to start with. So he did 2 turns for the Harper government. And Mark Carney did such a good job at the Bank of Canada that the Bank of England poached him, and then did such a good job at the Bank of England, despite Brexit going on while he was there, which he was not for. But he was a public servant, and the government of the day decided they were doing that, so he tried to execute it as best as possible for England, like a public servant does, because a public servant is nonpartisan.
Correct.
And professional. Correct. So even though they personally do not agree that Brexit should have happened, if it did happen, okay, let's make the best of it.
Which is what he had to do.
And that did that so well that the UN came calling and saying, you know what? We need to finance all this climate action, and we need somebody to be able to explain it to people like their 6-year-olds that actually putting money as governments and businesses and whatnot into climate is actually probably in your best interest over the long run, because voters tend to get a little fickle when they can't breathe the air anymore. People tend to revolt when they plant stuff into the ground and nothing grows. Gets people mad. Climate change is a national security risk.
Well,
national safety risk. You might want to get ready for that. So you might want to put a little money into that, especially if you like to keep your cushy jobs and you don't want a revolt or a revolution. So he's the guy. He keeps on being tapped. So exemplary public servant can work for different parties, can work for different nations, can work at the national and the multilateral level. What more do you want? It looks like they are making a very serious push. And that, like I said, that Daily Show performance, the only bad thing that people are able to say about that is the typical thing. Oh, leave it to a guy like Mark Carney to go to the U.S. to launch. He didn't launch. Or soft launch, which he did. His campaign can't even do it in Canada. Again, hits and cups.
But when
bigger audience.
Or goes on Fox,
right? Number one, bigger audience.
yes.
With the lead time that these shows require to get guests like this was probably booked before Justin Trudeau bellied up to Mike and said he's stepping aside. He knocked it out of the park. You can't buy that type of marketing and publicity for Canada.
No.
Viral clip potential.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that conversation, the way it happened, would have happened with any Canadian media? Pierre said this about you. What do you think? Jenny said this about you. Like the other party, what do you think about Christy having stabbed Justin in the back in the front like that? It's high. He would have gotten the high school questions. Do you think they would have had a chance to show personality and talk some policy like that?
Well, and speaking thereof, I'm going to show a few seconds of it. We might. I don't think we'll get a violation, but I'll remove it later.
No. Okay.
No, we can show a few seconds. The copyright violation, all that happens is they just say take it down. That's it. So I'm going to show a few seconds of it because this just, you need to see it because it's funny.
Rowling name at best. Pierre Poilievre. This always fascinates me. I want to show this. So Trudeau, obviously. The other guy is Pierre Poilievre. It looks like, and he is Trudeau's rival, yes? They look like two fictional boys' school rivals. Poilievre seems like a villain in a Karate Kid movie. Like there's something very, very off-putting. What is he like in person?
Karate.
Which, of course, Jon Stewart was just howling after that.
Well, yes, but he got some personality. He's got some charm. He's got a sense of humor. He's really relaxed for a banker. He's not stiff.
No. Oh, and hey, remember, he's a Western Canadian boy. He's from the West.
And he can skate.
Yeah.
Do you skate, Pierre? Do you even cross-cut, bro?
He plays hockey. I wonder, I've never seen, and I'm not picking on Pierre Poilievre if he can't skate. If he can't skate, that's truly unfortunate for him because as a Canadian, it's kind of like a thing you need to learn to do at birth, right?
It's also fun.
I think I was on skates before I could walk.
Yes. Unfortunately, and I'm saying the can you cross-cut, bro, being someone who can't. By the way. So, but I mean, if we're playing the alpha thing, come on, man. So, yeah. Absolutely. Listen, so these two people are out. Like I said, this seems to increase the odds greatly that Jonathan Wilkinson will indeed be in. And it seems to have increased the odds, more than increased the odds, but pretty much guaranteed that Karina Gould will be in. According to Marco Vigliotti of iPolitics, government House leader Karina Gould is set to formally launch her bid for the Liberal leadership, iPolitics has learned. A source close to Gould said the announcement would happen this week. A link has recently circulated online directing Liberal supporters to sign an online petition supporting Gould's leadership bid. All leadership candidates need 300 signatures from Liberal members. A Gould source on Sunday said she would have caucus and cabinet endorsements. Voting in the leadership race will conclude on March 9th, with candidates having to declare by January 23rd. So it seems that this week she's a go. She's found the resources and all of that, and will actually have endorsements. People like her. She's incredibly likable. She's incredibly likable. And you root for her. Now, the one challenge she might have if she actually did win is that she was the Minister of Democratic Reform during the time where the consultations on Justin Trudeau's promise that would be the last election under first past the post, and that ultimately did not go anywhere. He shuffled her out of Democratic Reform before he killed it. So she wasn't there when that happened. But some people might turn around and say, you didn't do all you could. So that might be the one thing, if you were looking at some things to attack, because other than that, there's not much. It's pretty much squeaky clean.
Oh, yes.
So, but that's about the most controversial thing in her background, at least politically, that somebody else can attack other than she's just like Justin.
Which they love to say so much and so often.
These people, oh God, all they know is fear. All they know is fear. All they know is to do is push that button. It's really, really weird. And then, of course, we're still waiting to hear more about Jaime Baptiste, who I'm very excited about. I'm hoping. Listen, I think if Karina Gould, who didn't have much in her organization, can in a few days say that, yeah, she is doing it, I am hoping that there is enough support in Canada from all communities. But I think particularly I'm pretty sure that the Indigenous community alone, if they got behind him, could probably ensure that he had the $350,000.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But
I don't think that's an issue.
But I am pretty sure that there's a lot of people that heard him go, yeah, why not? I'd support that.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
So he's why not? Why not? It's time. It's time. It should. It's a long past time, and it should have been a long ago.
Yes.
That an Indigenous voice of any kind, and more than one even, because would be a part of every leadership, like standard. Like you have to have a francophone, and you have to have somebody from these regions of Canada, and or these regions of the province. Yeah, there has to be at least one woman. There has to be at least one person who's not white. Because there's just like, when Grand Chief Kathy Merrick passed away, or when Murray Sinclair passed away, because there were actually state-like funerals.
Yes.
For the first time for Indigenous people.
Again, long overdue.
Right?
Long overdue.
Intrinsic, interwoven in Canadian history.
Yes.
And we're talking nation to nation governments. Why not? Right? When it happened, it was like, this was the first time? Really? Like, nobody before Murray Sinclair warranted this? I'm sure somebody did. Right?
I always thought Chief Dan George should have got a
right,
because he did a lot for this country, and it was a country that really didn't do anything for him. I mean, he taught me things, because he used to be on Sesame Street all the time when I was a kid, and I learned about Indigenous voices in this country through him. And okay, don't hate me when I say the next name, Buffy St. Marie. But that's who I learned from, because they were both on Sesame Street frequently. And Chief Dan George was the guy. Like, he was the guy. He should have had a state funeral, in my mind. And my two picks for the $10 bill, not the 10, what is it, the 5? Yeah. Was my two picks were Terry Fox and Chief Dan George. They were my top two. After that, I can't remember who. I think Nellie McClung, I think I put on there. There was we had to pick 5, and my top two were Terry Fox and Chief Dan George. And I'm glad to see Terry won. It would have been great if Chief Dan George had won, but yeah.
Again, it's only a matter of time before there's going to be.
It's got to happen eventually.
Someone who's Indigenous on our money.
Yes. Bob Canoe might be there someday. What he's doing in Manitoba.
The way he's going.
He could be a prime minister if he decided to make a federal run eventually. But he's not going anywhere until he gets Manitoba straightened out.
Yep.
And he's sincere in that. He wants to fix the province, and he knows he can be more effective as the provincial premier than he could as the prime minister. So, yeah. I do have, hang on, I had something here a second ago. Oh, yes. I want to show you, this is a video from the Queen Kiwa. This is from TikTok. It's 1 minute, and she kind of nails it. So I reached out to her, invited her to join us someday on the show. I don't know if she'll respond or not, but I did reach out to her. But have a look at this. This woman, I love it. She just nails it, and just in 60 seconds, she nails it.
So I want to talk about Pierre today. I do want to talk about Pierre Poilievre. Over the course of Pierre Poilievre's career, he has voted 7 times against affordable housing initiatives, 8 times against union legislation to protect workers. He has voted 400 times against environmental initiatives. As housing minister, he has also backed policies that allowed corporate landlords to hike the prices of rent. So there goes your affordable housing. He has also sold 800,000 affordable renting units to corporate landlords, and he has consistently prioritized billionaires and foreign interests and corporations over the average hard-working Canadian. But honestly, I want to ask you guys this. Is Pierre Poilievre working for us?
I think she nailed that in 60 seconds. I think that was a great little lesson that a lot of people can learn from in 60 seconds, because everything she spoke is truth. And you know how I know this? Because I've looked at his voting record. It's widely available. I've posted about his voting record many times and said, if you think this is the guy, maybe have a look at his voting record, because he's voted against raising minimum wage. He's anti-union. He has done nothing for housing. Everything she just said is truth. Sums it all up. He will vote against your best interests every single time. He's a billionaire bootlicker, which is why he loves Elon Musk. Look, if you're gonna admire any billionaires, you should admire Mark Cuban. You should admire what's her name? Bezos' ex-wife, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Blanking out. I can see her face. I'm blanking on her name. If you're going to admire Mark Cuban, Mackenzie, they're people who are actually making a difference. Mark Cuban is looking at coming up with an affordable health insurance program. He has his cost plus drugs, which is cost plus 15%. So they're not gouging people for prescription drugs in the United States. He's trying to help people. Look, you don't become a billionaire by being nice to people. I get that. Well, and what's her name? Mackenzie? I'm blanking.
Scott.
I apologize. Scott Mackenzie? Mackenzie Scott.
Mackenzie Scott.
Mackenzie Scott. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. She supported Jeff Bezos while he built the empire.
Right.
Did she have a hand in the day-to-day operation? I have no idea. But Mackenzie Scott has given billions away. She can't give it away fast enough. People are like, of course she can. I'm like, no, you can't give it away fast enough. You can't just hand people money, because you have to figure out a method for them to receive it, spend it, invest it, take care of it, make sure that the people are taken care of. You don't just hand people $1 billion. It doesn't work that way. There's tax implication, there's complication. So she can't give it away fast enough because the money she has in her account just keeps building up. This is a woman who is truly trying to make the world a better place. So I think of 3 billionaires: Mackenzie Scott, Mark Cuban, and Dolly Parton. How much money did Dolly donate for vaccinations? How much money has Dolly given away in books and education? How much money does Dolly just hand to people who desperately need it?
And doesn't ask for anything about it, and doesn't even get publicity.
No, doesn't care. And she does it quietly in the background.
Yeah. The only way you find out she's done it is if somebody else tells you she did.
Correct. Correct.
Pretty much. Oh man. Okay, kits and cubs. This is the first little bit. Now the next little bit that's happening is that the premiers have been demanding that the leader of the allegedly leaderless country meet with them to discuss the tariff threat. So it seems that there's going to be such a meeting. I believe it is happening today, where they're going to chat. Now it seems that the premiers are still insisting on being the problem, because it seems that the premiers have organized their own little press conference after today's meeting, one from the side of the Council of Federation, which means the Prime Minister will not be there. Trying to get the provinces on the same page has been literally like trying to herd cats. Because we've had two premiers in particular that keep on thinking, wait, this is my moment to show that I'm a real leader. So we had Danielle Smith, who we just talked to, who traveled her way down to Mar-a-Lago. I don't know how much of that was at the taxpayer's expense, because allegedly it's a vacation. But really, who goes to Mar-a-Lago on vacation with Kevin O'Leary, Jordan Peterson? I mean, I know Danielle Smith is very good at faking sincerity, but I have to believe that that's a bit much for even her. I have a feeling that she came back to her room and like, oh God.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So she was only supposed to be in the States for 6 days before inauguration. She's already at Mar-a-Lago. She went, and she came back with maybe at best a little bit of a tan, a pat on the head, and not much else. Basically, right. And then you got Doug Ford, who's like, going on TV. And, Danielle Smith is still getting extra gigs on TV, but she's not getting as much high profile from them. But she's been on Fox a couple of times more since. But Doug Ford seems to be getting the better profile, seems to be doing the better performance overall, especially since he got his video working. And Doug and Danny do not appear to agree. So, again, I keep on thinking, imagine two drag queens on stage sing a duet, Donna Summer and Barbara Streisand, No More Tears, Enough is Enough. And it's one person's time to sing, and they step out in front of the other, and they splash the boa, and the boa covers the other person's face. Then the other person comes in and makes the grand entrance, but as they slick their arm, it's like, boom, punches her in the gut. And the other drag queen comes out, it's like, oh, boom, elbows her in the face. That's what Diva Danny and Diva Doug are doing. It's a battle of divas.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump thinks we can take Canada. Well, I talked to him and was like, what if we buy? Notice that Doug Ford offered to buy Alaska and Minnesota, not just take them.
Well, Alaska was purchased to begin with, right?
Right. It's like, but what if we throw in Alaska? Like, what do you mean if we throw in like an offer to purchase Alaska, whatnot? Because they're the ones who throw something into the. So Doug Ford got his metaphor a little wrong, but he's out there. This says, and we'll turn off your lights. Well, Danielle Smith heard that's like, oh my God, turn off the lights, Daddy Trump, please, don't touch my oil. We'll never tariff our. It's like, you're not the one that imposes the tariffs on the oil, Danny. Do you understand how tariffs work? Again, were you awake on Monday?
Very smart.
It's the U.S. side that tariffs the stuff coming into the U.S. So if there's a tariff on oil, it's because the United States decided to put it, not you. Okay, so you can't tell Canadians like this, we won't tariff our oil. That's not your choice, boo boo kitty. So, but it's like, please, Daddy Trump. And that didn't work for her either. She came back,
mm-hmm.
and bless her heart, this woman knows how to spin. I'm bringing back important news for the United States. I talked to Trump myself, and yes, the tariffs are going ahead, even on oil. So we got to prepare. It's like, yeah, because that's what you were in the States doing. Helping us prepare. As in, all of us prepare. If you need any more evidence, Albertans, that she will sell you out faster than you can say grandma, she just did it. She hitched her little blue wagon to Olexit, and Kermit the Peterson went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring, came back with a lot of poop on her nose.
Well, yes, because she had it so far up his buttocks that she could probably see his stomach.
And got nothing for it. Nothing. So the best she can do is come back and say, "Oh, Canada, I bring important news. How much do you want to bet?" After the premiers have that press conference, which is going to be delivered by Doug because he is the head of the Council of the Federation at the moment, that she is going to go right out and have her own little thing somewhere. Go on her talking to the premier thing or whatever it is and drop a whole other bomb. What are the odds? And then you've got, she doesn't have enough conflict of interest stuff going on. But now there's an AI plant allegedly being built somewhere in Alberta at the cost of several tens of millions of dollars that Kevin O'Leary just happens to have an association with somehow. Gee, I wonder how all these things happen to be at the same time. And will anybody look into that? It stinks to high heaven. So yeah, they're going to meet. So expect the Prime Minister to say something that sounds statesmanlike. Expect Doug Ford to say something that sounds folksy. However, in a plot twist, Doug Ford might be a bit more on board this time around. Put a pin on that because something happened, and then Danielle Smith
I know.
going her own way. Right, so he's going to meet with the 13 premiers Wednesday, which is today, to talk about how to handle the incoming Trump administration. Several top cabinet ministers said they have decided not to join the race to replace him as prime minister. So I'm guessing that Champagne, Joly, and LeBlanc will probably be part of this meeting. I think it would probably be a good idea, given that they made a big decision to stay and it was big public. Probably would be a good idea for them to be sitting in on that meeting too. So we'll see what happens, or maybe they'll just send staff delegations. That sometimes happens as well. While they're all doing their own things, they send staff delegations with all those binders to be able to talk on their behalf and that type of stuff. And because the prime minister's there, so technically they don't need to be there for this type of stuff. And then Trudeau's office says that a cabinet retreat has been set for January 20th and 21st to talk about the defending Canadian interests in the face of the tariff threat. So that's going on. But concurrent to that and helping with that, because Trump made two claims, right? Fentanyl and migrants. So border issues. Then this is where I'm saying Doug Ford might be coming a little bit more on side with Team Canada, because Doug Ford yesterday went out and said to the media, the thing that Doug Ford really has to do is say, we need to get serious about that. The federal government needs to get its act together. It's about the border. And then a couple of hours later, had a meeting with Dominic LeBlanc, and according to the Canadian press, Ontario Premier Doug Ford said Tuesday he is now convinced the federal government has a phenomenal plan to secure the Canada-US border in response to Donald Trump's tariff threat, although he didn't offer up any details of that plan. So before going into the meeting, the federal government really needs to get its act together. Comes out of the meeting, the plan is phenomenal. Gee, maybe that was an indication that the federal government had its act together way before you said it. Because I'm pretty sure they didn't come up with that phenomenal plan between the time before you walked into that meeting and the time you came out. Maybe a little more. If the plan is that phenomenal that you came out and said, that's phenomenal, maybe they put a little more work into that before. So maybe the federal government had its act together all along.
You know, I think Doug's starting to figure a few things out. Let's remember, look, there's no question Doug Ford is a corrupt individual. That's not up for debate. And he has been a big-time Trump supporter, right? He said that from the beginning. Let's also remember, though, he has been on Team Canada for a long time. Whenever the Prime Minister reached out to him, he was gracious and accepted the help. And as much as I cannot stand the man, as corrupt as he is, he did step up during the pandemic at the beginning. I mean, he eventually abandoned us here in Ottawa in Centertown during the occupation by the inbred horde of ignorant individuals. But I'm not going to go on a rant about that because there's no need to, because we all know what happens when you keep me awake for 5 days and how I will yell in your face about it. But that's another story.
It seems you still have some feelings about that, Mr. Grizzly, though.
I had a few feelings about it. Yeah, okay. You might say that if I don't get enough sleep and you were disturbing my entire neighborhood, I might have things to say to you about it.
While wearing something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Blue. I got my blue jacket on. I got my blue jacket on. You know, like the Tight Pants song. So, yeah. I can be a grumpy grizzly when I feel like it. But here's the thing, folks. Doug Ford, again, corrupt to the core, has always been on the side of Team Canada, even though he said in the beginning he was a huge-time Trump supporter. When Trump mentioned the tariffs, Doug right away said, whoa, this ain't cool. This is not happening. No, this is stupid. We're going to cut off your electricity. Like, he literally is on Team Canada. He also does realize he's not an idiot, but he's an asshole. There's a difference. He does realize how detrimental those tariffs could be to Canadian jobs across the country. Not just Ontario. Ontario, of course, being the biggest province in the country, 16,250,000 people. I mean, that's between Ontario and Quebec, we're at 25 million or 20 million or something like that. 24
between
million.
Ontario and Quebec, yeah, probably 16, at least 7 million Quebec. So
9 million.
24.
9 million.
9 million. 9 million
Yes.
Quebec now. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, then definitely 25 by now.
So Canada's population clock, I'm looking at it right now. Quebec is 9,110,920. Ontario is 16,218,009. So 25,000 people, 25 million people, my apologies, in a country of 42 million. Well, 41,580,000. So those two provinces make up the bulk of Canada, like it or not. And again, you got to remember, both those provinces have a lot of rural areas and a lot of rural ridings. And Charlie Angus, who I watched on TV Ontario last night from a day or two ago, his riding is larger than the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm including all of Ontario and all of Quebec, all 25 million and change of us, okay? We are the economic engine of Canada, whether Alberta wants to admit to it or not.
The government of Alberta wants to admit.
The government of Alberta. Correct. The government of Alberta.
Yeah. Yeah. So
again, as I was saying, Doug Ford is on Team Canada, has been from day one, stepped up for the country when it was time to do it. That doesn't diminish or admonish or take away or wipe the slate clean on all of his corruption. But not every single person is 100% bad. Even the baddest people still had something redeemable about them. We're not going to get into a debate about that. But he still has a few redeeming qualities. I don't know what they are, but he did step up for Team Canada, and he did step up at the start of the pandemic. Again, he abandoned us here in Ottawa in January of 2022 when the ignorant horde of inbreds decided that they should shit on my street. Anyway, I'll get off that. I'm going to grab another coffee, sir. I'll be right back. See, I used to, I said, I'm going to go to 2 cups of coffee a day. And I did. And I went with 12-ounce mugs. So that's 24 ounces of coffee. So I thought, okay, I'll just reduce my mug size. Now I'm down to 8-ounce mugs, but I have 3. So it's 8 3s or 24. I'm still drinking the same amount of coffee, man. I'll be right back.
All right. So when you're looking at Pierre Poilievre, right, all of a sudden, he sees Mark Carney's great performance. He sees the Liberals suddenly understanding that maybe they've got a shot. He knows that the foreign interference report is coming, so that's probably not a good idea. With Doug Ford, you have the fact that there was a decision to make that his phone records could no longer be hidden, which sent Doug Ford to the mics, talking, musing again about an early election and something about Trump's tariffs being the catalyst, which is something that I'm sure Pierre Poilievre is really hoping doesn't happen, because if Doug Ford decides he's going to go to a snap election, like Donald Trump announces the tariffs, and Doug Ford turns around and says, I need a new mandate. He doesn't need a mandate, because responding to what the US president does is part of his original job. So, I mean, Doug Ford saying I need a new mandate is BS, but hey, it's marketable and you can run on it. So, if he decides, Trump does do it on day one or day two, announces the tariffs, and Doug Ford goes, that's it. Look, I need a new mandate, and declares that he's having a spring election. That increases the odds by a lot, is that we have a fall election federally, because again, Ontario is the largest province. It's the most seat-rich province. And if all the campaign staff, that is probably common to the Ontario PC Party and the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, at least maybe not entirely common because Pierre and Doug hate each other, but still common enough. If they run one election, they might be pooped. They might not want to do two in a row, especially if there's a summer in between.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, Pierre knows that time is not his best friend. So one of the worst things that could happen for Pierre is for Doug to turn around and says, those tariffs, they're too much. We need to go in an election. I need a mandate now. So watch for that potential. And what gives you a hint that those types of things might happen is that the Ontario NDP unveiled a new logo.
Mm-hmm.
And Merritt Styles has a little more of a go. I haven't heard anything about how fast the parties are filling their slots for nominees at the federal level. The Liberals, who were kind of far behind in filling their slots, have been making a lot of acclamation nominations in the electoral districts to get back up. So I don't know if the same thing is going on with the Ontario NDP and the Ontario Liberals, or whether or not they had been further ahead all along, because Doug Ford has been teasing a snap election for the better part of a year now. So maybe they got a little more jump on that. But these are activities that let you know that people are getting the sense that Doug might have an itchy trigger finger here. Because again, if he is doing the Team Canada thing and it's easy to rally people against something than for something, and then Trump comes up with like these impossible, insane tariffs for a guy who is personally unpopular,
indeed,
in a nation with a whole bunch of people that are just like can't get to Mar-a-Lago fast enough. He might be going, hey, I'm corrupt as fuck, but how'd you like me now? I'm the corrupt guy that's in your corner.
How do you
every
like
nation
me
needs
now?
Every nation needs a lovable thug or two. We'll stand up for it. What do you say? Huh? So yeah. It is going to get messier unless there's somebody at the federal level who can get those premiers together. Okay, like recess is over. You've had your fun now. There was a time to play, and now's the time to get serious. And now's the time to get serious. The inauguration's coming on the 20th. We are the 15th. Enough freelancing. One voice.
Oh shit! That reminds me of you, Bill.
Chop chop. Right. Mr. Grizzly, did you say I sent you an email? Because apparently Danielle Smith brought back a souvenir from her vacation to Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yeah, here we go. Hang on, I'll just pull this up. Just bear with me for a second here while I load this into the old machine there. It appears 25% tariffs will apply even to oil, even after going to Mar-a-Lago a week prior to the inaugural ball. Will she still go, given that she's already failed in her mission? To get a couple of minutes with the Wizard of Orange, courtesy of Olexit, potentially at a price. And let's bring it up here, because I think this is just a stroke of genius on your part, sir. So I'm going to put this on the screen. See, Premier Smith went to Mar-a-Lago and came back with nothing. except potentially a bit of a tan, a pat on the head, and a loyalty test mission to carry out. I went to Mar-a-Lago, and I got, let's try that again. I went to Mar-a-Lago, and all I got was this crappy quid pro quo. Look who's coming in to say hello.
I'm petty. Good morning, Lola. You pretty girl. Hello, Mademoiselle Fox.
She's going after the peanut butter on the spoon trick. It's how we get her to come on camera sometimes when she's being shy.
Indeed. So yeah, and the reason I suggested, she may have come back with one thing, a loyalty mission. We're not going to give you a thing now, but here's something I want you to do. I need you to do me a favor, though, Danielle, and do that, and then we'll see maybe if I will entertain your request. Maybe if you amuse me enough while doing it. Dance for me, puppets. Dance.
Yeah, no kidding.
So she may have. I mean, hey, Kevin O'Leary had his, right?
Yes.
Take down Gavin Newsom, and all of a sudden he's at Mar-a-Lago introducing people to each other.
Well, you remember when?
Hey, Donald, have you met Danny?
Remember when Danielle Smith talked about how maybe with Ron DeSantis we could set up a transnational sort of pipeline where we could go a free trade agreement with red states. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Red state travel zone.
That woman.
What if we?
I don't know. What if we just,
What if we let me just spitballing do this thing that I've planned for the last 5 years? And what if we make it seem like I just came out to my head now, do this thing that I've been planning and scheming for the last 3 years? And what if Danielle. Oh, God. When your elevator starts going down, there's going to be a lot of people waving. Bye. You weren't nice to people on the way up. You were really not nice to people on the way up. There's going to be a lot of people cheering when you're on your way down, girl.
I have something for you.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to love this. There's a post, then there's a response, and then there's a clap back. So I'm going to share this because it's just juicy. Leopards eating people's faces party. How soon they forget. So this is Michelle Rempel-Garner. Carney is no outsider. He runs the club. Mark Carney's laughable outsider claim is proof in and of itself that he's Trudeau 2.0. Here's why. Last night, Canadian Liberal leadership contender Mark Carney made a bold play on American TV by launching his campaign while attempting to brand himself as a political outsider. But is this claim believable? For many Canadians, as the National Post's Terry Newman quipped, the answer will be, my arse is. Here's why. In 2025, the term outsider carries, it just goes on forever. Jesus, woman. Well, Jenny Byrne. Carney's deep ties to the Liberal power brokers and his unwavering support for Trudeau's agenda prove him not as an outsider, but as the epitome of the establishment. His brand of continuity with the Trudeau government will offer little relief to Canadians seeking real change from the policies they have strained household budgets and eroded trust in government. And let's just scroll down here where we can see this. I mean, Harper was a young Liberal back when he was a PET fan. Prime Minister Stephen Harper claimed bragging rights on the Riviera thanks to the naming of Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of Canada, to head an increasingly powerful body called the Financial Stability Board. His appointment, Harper said, is both a tribute to his personal qualities and a reflection on Canada's superior performance in monetary, fiscal, and financial sector policy areas. So when he saved us all, he was a genius and you loved him. But now that he's actually working for the benefit of, wants to work for the benefit of all Canadians, you got to throw him under the bus. And again, once again, Michelle Rempel-Garner, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep disappointing people? You have potential to be a decent human being. You're an intelligent woman. You're definitely on the side of the rainbow community and have defended that community many, many times. So why are you doing this? Because you know your own party? doesn't want that community to exist. So perhaps, Michelle Rumpelgarner, you're the only remaining progressive, but you just did something regressive. Why? Why, Michelle? I mean it. Why? Why do you do this? You constantly, you'll get a win column over here, and then you come over and shoot a bunch of people in the back, or stab a bunch of people in the back, or shoot yourself in the foot. Either way, you keep doing damage to the country. Why, Michelle? Why? You have the potential to be a great progressive leader. You do. When Pierre Poilievre went on and on about the WEF and this and that, she came out and said, no, he's lying. None of that is true. I've been there. He is lying to you. But of course, now that he's the leader, she had to retract a lot of that or hide it and bury it and get rid of it. Remember when she was running the campaign for Patrick Brown? What happened to her during that time? Oh, that's right. People from the government of India threatened her.
Allegedly. According to her, on one
According to
phone
her.
call. And then
Yes.
they didn't, allegedly, according to her.
Yeah.
Earlier, late last year when it came out again.
Michelle, you're going to get your pension, so just show some backbone. Stand up and do the right damn thing, please. Like, please. You have potential to be a good, decent, progressive human being that can help others. And you backslide all the time, and it's so frustrating. It's really frustrating because I fundamentally think she's a decent human being. I really do. And then she just does stupid shit like this. Now, I wonder if she's just parroting or spewing lines handed to her by somebody. Because remember, you don't speak to the press and you don't speak to other members of parliament. Because if you do that, Pierre Poilievre will slap you on the wrist. This is not a secret. This was reported across news media, legacy media. We reported on it. So, I mean, maybe that's the thing here. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Just frustrates me.
Yeah.
When she has
me
the
too.
potential, she has the potential to be a good progressive leader. Somebody to take the party away from the extreme right-wing evangelical Project 2025 type of mentality that so many in that party have, when she can bring them back closer to the middle, be center-right. Everybody said the Liberals have gone too far. They've gone too far left. I'm like, have they? I think they're the same party they've always been. And somebody, no. I go, really? Let's look at Lester B. Pearson. What did he bring us, right? Well,
right.
This prime minister has just advanced those things by adding to them. When universal health care first came in the 1960s under Lester B. Pearson, they desperately tried to get dental care under that policy. And they couldn't get enough people to agree to it, enough dentists. They couldn't get anybody to sign on to it. Now, you also have to remember back then, dentists earned a lot more money than doctors. Considerably. So much so that dentists were not allowed to join the Royal Ottawa Golf Club. Because it was doctors who started the Royal Ottawa Golf Club, and they said, we're keeping dentists out. And the question was, well, why? They make more money than us. And he goes, yeah, that's why. We don't want them here. So I think the organization at the time just absolutely didn't want to give up any ground. And now you find a doctor in this country who would go back to the system that we had before universal health care. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a Canadian doctor who would support pay for services at the time that you get them. 60 years ago, they tried to bring in dental care under the Canadian Health Act. They fought for it, and it didn't happen. And then it sat for 60 years. Last time I checked, my teeth were in my head, which is attached to my body, which is part of my overall health. And I need dental work. I do.
Yeah.
But I can't afford it. I might qualify for the program in the next year. But what I'm getting at here...
If the program exists.
Yeah. What I'm getting at here is that when they say, Trudeau's gone too far left, I'm like, really? Has he? He's brought in programs that have been incremental. The National Pharmacare program is a good idea. It should have worked more closely with the provinces, though, because of the fact that we have the Trillion program in Ontario. They could have married those two together. I've learned about the Trillion program a while ago, then I kind of forgot about it because,
Right.
life gets busy. And the Trillion program covers 5,000 prescription drugs, and it's designed for people who simply can't afford them. The problem I have with the Trillion program is not enough people know it exists. A few years ago, when I did not have an insurance program, when I was doing freelance work, if you will, I needed to get a prescription filled.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't afford it. And I remember an individual whose name, Adrian, CBC, he used to be on CBC Radio, now he's on CBC News, Ottawa, I'm blanking on his surname. Anyway, I was chatting with him, and he said, I just got a prescription that without my health insurance through my employer would have cost me $350. He goes, what do people without insurance do? And my response was, we don't get this prescription. It's, do I eat, do I pay my rent, or do I get this prescription filled? And as simple as that, we don't get it. Now, of course, like I said, I found out about Trillium a few years ago when I was unemployed back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I went to get a script filled, and the woman realized I had no more health insurance, no more Pharmacare coverage. And she goes, oh, hang on a sec. Oh, this is under Trillium, and just handed it to me. Like she, punched a few things on the keyboard and just, here you go, sir. I didn't know about this program until that day, and that was in 2017. Program, I think, came around in 2015 or 2016. Don't quote me on that. It's been around for a number of years, and unfortunately, not nearly enough people know about it. Not nearly enough people know about it.
It's a really good program. It
is. 5,000 drugs are covered. Now, one thing that isn't covered is ivermectin. You chuckle about that, but here's the thing. I have a tube of ivermectin for my rosacea.
Yes.
It's not covered.
Yeah.
It's not covered because there's no generic version of it. There's no generic version. So my previous employer, before we got bought up by the bigger company, it covered that. That's how I was able to get it, because it's $280 for like a very small tube. When the bigger company, that we went from 75 employees to something like 3,000, the bigger company, the insurance program that we moved on to, I had lesser coverage for dental. It dropped from $2,500 to $1,200, which is, what's that, 2 visits? And it did not cover any name brand drugs. Well, ivermectin is only made by one company. There's no generic version of it yet.
Right.
So if I wanted to get that prescription, I'd have to pay it out of my own pocket and then try and fight with the insurance company to get it, because I could just say, well, there's no other version. There is no generic version. It's this or nothing. And they would go, yeah, well, we're not covering you. So why,
Jeez.
No, I'm not on the ivermectin anymore, because it's long since expired, but I still have the tube. I just kept it for every now and then. I'll just show it on the show.
So, according to iPolitics here, with less than a week to go until U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is officially reinstated in the White House, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is going to hold the in-person closed-door planning session with provincial and territorial premiers to compare notes and plot strategy in response to the incoming president's repeated threats to impose a sweeping 25% levy on all Canadian exports. That's happened, started around 11 a.m. And then I'm sure there's going to be the press availability after that. Speaking with reporters after a one-on-one chat with Ontario Premier Doug Ford in Toronto yesterday, Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc revealed that both the Finance Department, quote, and Canada's major banks have been working on modeling potential job losses from the tariffs, but declined to share that information, according to the Canadian press. For his part, Ford described the federal response to Trump's previously stated concerns over the border security as phenomenal, as we reported, and urged him to, quote, get out there and start promoting it because it's a solid plan. As per CP, which notes that, quote, Trump's messaging on tariffs has shifted in recent days, putting greater focus on the U.S. subsidizing Canada through trade and suggesting it become the 51st state. While no detailed agenda for today's meeting has been released, both Trudeau's daily itinerary and the advisory put out by the Council of the Federation state that it will get underway at 111 Sussex Drive this morning with LeBlanc. Oh, there we go. With LeBlanc, as well as Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and Canada's current ambassador to the United States, Karen Hillman, also expected to be at the table. So 2 of the 3 that I mentioned. So I hadn't read that bit actually
Mhm.
before, so it's like, oh, gee, well, boy, I called that right, yay! And I forgot about of course, the Canada ambassador to the United States. Of course, they would be there. The half-day summit is expected to wind down this afternoon and will be followed by 2 separate simultaneous media availability, with Trudeau and his front bench team set to go before the cameras at the main venue, while premiers will offer their take on the conversation during a joint press conference at a hotel in downtown Ottawa. These events are scheduled for around 3. I hope that they will be polite enough to let the Prime Minister speak first, and then they will speak after, and that they won't go first or go at the same time to offer counter programming. I hope that these are coordinated. Elsewhere in the capital, after suggesting that one of the potential responses to Trump tariffs threats could be for Canada, quote, to cut off the flow of critical minerals to the United States, New Democrat leader Jagmeet Singh will join newly nominated New Democrat hopeful Joel Harden, who will carry the party banner onto the Hustings and Ottawa Centre on the picket line outside the Canada Ontario headquarters of Best Electronics Limited to mark, quote, to mark the 1-year anniversary of the, quote, first and only offer made to the striking workers, which included a 0% wage increase. And meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, as expected, continues to make the rounds in British Columbia, where he's scheduled to mingle with West Coast supporters during $1,750 per person reception at the Paradox Hotel in downtown Vancouver. And then yesterday, or a couple of days ago, he was doing something on ski-doos and snowmobiles because, of course, the country's in a crisis and Trump's about to impose these tariffs on us. And while everybody else is working their phones and calling their contacts to see what they can do to help Canada either deal with that or avoid that, he's snowmobiling and going to $1,750 a plate dinners. Or no, not even plate. This doesn't even say there's dinner. $1,750 per person reception. He could be working the phones. He could be calling his Republican friends in certain states when making the case for Canada. He went to camera and said he would.
Mm-hmm.
He got all the PR benefit of going to the camera and saying that he would. But there's no evidence of him actually doing it. Things that make you go,
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Also on this front, Immigration Minister Mark Miller and Public Safety Minister David McGuinty will be holding a joint press conference to highlight important measures that have been introduced to improve the integrity of Canada's immigration system and investments to strengthen border security. That'll be at 9 a.m. There'll be people interested in that, given everything that's going on with that. Jeez, man. By the way, Karina Gould is going to be dropping by a Burlington Transit Operations Center this morning around 11 to deliver an infrastructure announcement. I'm guessing that since iPolitics said that she's planning to announce Thursday, there's probably going to be half a question about the actual announcement from the press, and the rest might have to do with something else. And Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, as he said in the interview that we showed you yesterday, is on a 2-day visit to Washington, D.C. To outline his and his government's perspective on the Canada-U.S. relationship during a panel discussion hosted by the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Even though Wilkinson is originally a Saskatchewan boy, he does represent a BC riding, so with Christy Clark gone, that's another reason why pathways even opened up even bigger for him, because all BC money that would have been going to Christy Clark is now suddenly available to go to him. Now, he said that he would have difficulty doing some organizing, given he has this 2-day thing. Christy Clark being gone probably helped him a whole lot there. Maybe he'll be asked a question or two by any Canadian media that is there. I doubt he'll be asked by American media whether or not he'll be interested about his interest in running. But yes, if he's announcing, he would be announcing after he comes back from that, seeing where things stand. But basically, him being involved in any way in organizing for himself for the next 2 days is pretty much out of the question, because once you go to one of these things, your whole life is about that thing.
Well, so I saw some photos last night posted online of Mark Carney and his wife at a picnic somewhere, and I don't know if the photos are authentic or not. Okay, and Ghislaine, or as we say in Quebec, Ghislaine Maxwell, or as they say in the rest of the world, Ghislaine Maxwell, was apparently in some of the photos. And it says, "Oh, see, they guilt by association." I'm like, yeah, look, Stephen Harper had a pedophile in his band. I don't compare that to Stephen Harper. I don't hold that up to Stephen Harper. I don't like Stephen Harper, but he didn't know that guy was a pedophile. Any more than they knew Ghislaine, or Ghislaine, however you want to say it. Ghislaine Maxwell was a sex trafficker.
Right.
So they're desperately trying to find some dirt on Carney. And I'm like, look, you know how many security clearances you have to be the head of Bank of Canada and the head of the Bank of England? And they're different than NSICOP. Now, his Bank of Canada clearance would have lapsed. He'd have to renew it. Same thing with his Bank of England.
Right.
It's lapsed and he'd have to renew it, which is fine. I have no question in my mind that he'll get his NSICOP clearance like that. This is an interesting comment. They're trying to make light of the fact that he has dual citizenship, divided loyalties. But somebody here just said...
Andrew Scheer?
No. Mark Carney.
No. The Andrew Scheer one?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes.
You
Mark
offered
Carney,
him to us as a potential prime minister, Conservatives.
and he did not disclose the fact that he has U.S. citizenship. Well, nobody asked me. Why would we ask you that? It's a well-known fact that Mark Carney has UK citizenship, and here's the interesting thing. This guy says, I don't have a horse in the Liberal Party of Canada race, but it's really funny seeing some Canadians get upset over the Carney dual citizen divided loyalties thing when Canada and UK oaths are to the same head of state and monarchy. It's not like he has U.S. citizenship. I'm like,
feeling a stabbing pain in my eye. Oh my God, the stupidity.
Oh my, I can't make this shit up.
Civics, people, civics. Please, civics. It matters. Now,
Do you know anything about civics?
for people who do the polling thing, according to Leger is one of the three better firms. There's Nanos, Leger, and I think Ipsos, that have a A+ rating, according to 338. A new poll suggests that Liberal supporters prefer Mark Carney as their next leader over a field of potential candidates. Polling from Leger surveyed around 1,500 people over the weekend, asking who they think should replace Justin Trudeau as leader of the governing party. So that's, would that be pre-Daily Show? I can't remember if the Daily Show thing was Friday. The survey included a number of people.
It was Monday.
Monday.
John Stewart was only on Mondays.
Exactly. There's no Daily Show on Friday. That's true. So yes. So this is with that before the Daily Show, potential Daily Show bounce. The survey included a number of people who have dropped out of the race, decided not to run. So those numbers are skewed because that vote share might go to someplace else. But Carney had the support of 27% of Liberal voters, while Christy Freeland was second with 21%, and Clark was a distant third at 6%, and she's not there anymore. Carney and Freeland were almost tied among all of the poll's respondents, with Freeland 1 point ahead at 14%. Neither Carney nor Freeland has officially entered the race yet. Most of the people surveyed, 46% overall, and 30% of Liberal voters said they don't know who the party's next leader should be. So a little bit of news there, but Carney seems to be the early favorite, and I would suspect that that little sortie on the Daily Show will help a lot with that. Now, one other bit of news here. This is from also from the Hill Times, but they have a thing called Hill Times Research in there, and it says an article says health minister wants more time for Pharmacare deals, but NDP health critic says they can be signed in the next few days. Again, this is something that Jagmeet Singh said several months ago. If the Liberals really wanted the deal signed, they could get them signed in a few days. The Liberals really have wanted the deal signed, and it's been way more than a few days. So this line that Liberals, if you really wanted the provinces to sign on these deals, you could get it done in a few days, as if the provinces have nothing to say about that. Just go to the provinces and say, here's the deal, and it's signed. So a province can say no.
This is correct.
There's the will of two parties here. So I don't know why the NDP keeps on saying this lie, but according to the article, the fate of Canada's Pharmacare plan, for which not a single province has signed on, is unclear as Parliament remains prorogued with the possibility of a spring election to follow. And of course, why would the provinces be motivated to sign on in any way, spend all this time and all these resources negotiating a deal that they'll sign on to for a government they expect to fall and they'll never have to implement it anyway, and a next government that has no intention of spending any money? Why wouldn't a province take you know what? I'll wait to see if you last approach on this. But Peter Julian's you could get it done in a couple of days. Yeah, while all the provincial premiers are saying, meet with us because the sky's falling and tariffs and 60 before nugget. But yes, while you're doing, you can put all that aside and just negotiate this Pharmacare deal in a couple of days if you really wanted to. Okay, this is clearly a narrative that's setting Peter Julian up to come up in a few days from now and say, a few weeks ago, well, they had all the time in the world. I guess they must have not really wanted it. See, we have to drag them kicking and screaming all the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is setting the table for something he knows cannot happen, claiming that it's reasonable, and then when it doesn't happen, beat them over the head. This is political foreshadowing. What's going on here? Part of the plan requires provinces and territories to sign bilateral agreements in order to receive their share of $1.5 billion that has been set aside to help the jurisdictions cover a list of diabetes medications and contraception. But 3 months after Bill C-64 Pharmacare Act received royal assent, Health Minister Mark Carney has not announced a formal agreement with any province or territory. Quote, I can tell you, if I'm given to October, I'll get all the Pharmacare deals, and I believe that, said Holland during a press conference on January 10th. October is when a general election is scheduled to take place if his government does not lose a confidence vote before then. The health minister's comments made during a press conference in Saskatoon were in response to Hill Times Health questions about his timeline for completing negotiations for 2 sets of bilateral agreements in light of a possible spring election. A campaign would occur if the Liberal government loses a confidence vote after Parliament returns on March 24th. Quote, I think having that time is important, and I'm hopeful that it's there, but I'll make use of any time I'm given, Holland added. The Minister and Health Canada are currently negotiating bilateral deals for rare disease medicines and for Pharmacare. 4 provinces have signed on for money for rare disease drugs. Holland was in Saskatoon on July 10th to announce that the Saskatchewan government was on board. British Columbia, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Alberta have also signed on. That leaves 9 provinces and territories without deals in place. Holland said he is, quote, sprinting to complete the deals. Quote, we have these agreements that are so important on drugs for rare diseases, it's essential that we get them all done. I'm feeling very good that there'll be a number more, and I'm very hopeful that we can get them all done. On Pharmacare, this is going to be up to Parliament, Holland said, referring to the possibility that the Liberals may be voted down this spring. He also pushed for a continuation of Parliament in its current form, saying, quote, shouldn't we use the time we're given as parliamentarians to get things done? But NDP health critic Peter Julian called Holland's comments, quote, a red herring. The development of a Pharmacare program was one of the main components of the supply and confidence agreement, which resulted in the NDP supporting the federal Liberals during confidence votes between March of 2022 and September 2024. All the tools are already in place. There are provinces that have already indicated they want to sign on, with BC and Manitoba being 2 examples of that, Julian said in a phone interview with Hill Times on January 13th. Quote, the money's already been approved, the bill has already been passed, so there could be no excuse for delay. These bills can be signed within the matter of the next few days, and it's simply a matter of political will. Okay, let's go back and look at 2 of the 13 governments with which the federal government would need to sign a deal over the next few days, according to Peter Julian, have indicated any interest that they want to sign on. But he can get it done in the next couple of days, according to Peter Julian.
Yeah.
The prime minister, who's too weak to do anything, can get this done in a couple of days. It's only a matter of the prime minister's will, his and his alone. This is ridiculous. Again, this is not a serious conversation. This is a party that knows, we told you yesterday and a couple of days ago, the Jagmeet Singh's position is, well, we'll give Canadians a chance to vote on this. And if Canadians want these wonderful things like Pharmacare and dental care, they'll vote for them. And if they don't, well, I guess they'll vote otherwise. But don't blame us for putting it on the table. Blame them for not voting for it. This is part of that.
Yeah. Well,
we're putting it on the table, and it didn't get done. I guess the Prime Minister didn't really want it. You're the guys who put it on the table, and then if you do vote, call the election, knowing that the main party in the polls that's leading and is predicted to win it by a big landslide has said that they want to kill it. You have the option of letting it go until October so that it cements itself more in the public conscience to make that harder to do politically for the other party, but you're not choosing to do that. Here's an early democracy, something that you do, kids and cubs. Pick up the phone and call your NDP member of parliament or your NDP candidate if they've been declared in your riding, and don't tell them that you are not going to vote for them. Tell them that you are not going to vote for them, and you are going to make it your mission to ensure that nobody does vote for them if they call an election before October. Especially if you are one of the people who in this year, 2025, would qualify for dental care. You should be on the phone like hell. You're calling an election before I get my teeth done. Like hell. You want to save that program?
Mm-hmm.
Threaten the NDP with mobilizing against them. Let them know.
Watch what'll happen.
Pharmacare hasn't even started yet. Canadians with diabetes and those who love and care for them, pick up those phones. No. You signed this deal 2 years ago. Promise this. We've been waiting for this for 2 years. You're not taking this away from us now. We waited. We did our part. You guys finished that damn job. You're the boss. Tell them you will make it hurt. That's the best way right now. Best thing that Canadians can do to help maintain that program is to threaten the NDP with political annihilation if they do anything to put that at risk before October.
No kidding.
Scare him.
Yeah.
Scare
Absolutely.
him. So, yeah. I'm not sorry.
No, don't be.
I'm not sorry for calling for this. This is you do not get to, for a second time in a few decades, put reconciliation, put childcare at risk. We finally get dental care that we've been waiting. We're supposed to be in the original healthcare plan. We get it all these decades later. And because you have a chance, maybe, of rising to leader of the opposition, maybe, and you don't really, you're going to take that away from all of us. Can't have these nice things.
Yeah.
Because you, not because you have a path to prime minister, but maybe leader of the opposition.
Remember the conservative way. The conservative way is this. So the way a progressive thinks is, as an example, CERB. Let's give a program that helps everyone. We know some people will get it who don't need it, but we can't sit there and sift through. It's an emergency. It's a crisis. We need to get money to people right now. They made it happen very quickly. The conservative ideology behind that is, well, look, if people are going to get it who don't deserve it, don't give it to anybody. We'll just cut their taxes and reduce spending. When I don't have a job, I have no money coming in. If I have no money coming in, how is a tax cut going to benefit me? But that's Pierre Poilievre. He said those words.
The money always gets directed to the same group of people. The choice in childcare credit they had was the same thing.
Yeah.
You had to be able to front the money. The renovation home tax credit, you had to be able to front the money.
Yeah.
You
well,
also
if
had
I
to
can
have
front
home.
the money, do I need the credit? I don't know how many times friends and colleagues who have started their own business. I remember a buddy of mine many, many years ago. He had bought a company that he had worked at for many years, and then he needed to buy new work vans. So he went to every bank in town. And the last one actually agreed to work with him. And he says, well, I need to borrow $150,000. I need to lease all these vehicles and buy this equipment because I just bought this company. They go, well, do you have $150,000? He goes, no, that's why I'm here to borrow it. They go, well, you don't have the money. We can't help you. If I had the money, I wouldn't be here. He went through every bank in town until he finally came to Caisse Populaire Desjardins. And they said, yeah, we can help you out. He said, no problem. He moved all of his accounts to Caisse Populaire, to Desjardins. He moved all his accounts, all his corporate, his wife moved him, his brothers and his sisters all said, what? So they all moved. They got new customers for life because they were willing to work with a guy who said, no, I have a company. I need to buy tools. I can't do this because I don't have $150,000. That's why I'm trying to borrow it.
Right.
And that's sort of the conservative mentality. Well, do you have $150,000? If I had it, why would I need to borrow it? I need to borrow it because I don't have it. Do you not understand that? Well, we'll give you a tax cut. I don't have a job. There's no income. There's no money coming in. Well, we're going to give you a tax cut. We don't believe in big government programs. Let me see if I can explain this one more time. I don't have money coming in. A tax cut will not benefit me in any way, shape, or form. Oh, the tax cut will be, it'll be good for the, I swear to God, Pierre Poilievre talking to him is like talking to this brick wall behind me, which isn't real. It's artificial, just like Pierre Poilievre.
Yep. Yes. Yes, indeed. Mr. Grizzly, before we close off the show, I think I have a little clip of Francois-Philippe Champagne.
Yeah, I have it queued up. Where do you want me to start at what point?
I
didn't see that in the list. In the
That's
email.
okay. Don't worry. I believe I put it in at... Oh, come on, man. Really? It's not in the thing I sent you?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, 1013. It's literally right next to the link.
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice. My apologies. And here's the thing, because I have so many emails in my inbox, after I open the link, I delete the email.
Okay.
Because I'm running out of room, and I paid $10 a month for 2 terabytes, and I'm almost out of space. So, all right.
So it's 10:13. It's a couple of minutes, but it starts with a question before it, and then it leads into Champagne revealing his decision.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can do it this way instead. Yeah, let's see. I like that better.
Nice.
On autos, I mean, President-elect did say recently we don't need to build autos in Canada. The Auto Pact is something we know Robert Lighthizer, who's behind a lot of his policies, is not a fan of. It's almost beyond imagining that you would strip that out of the Ontario and Canadian economy. But when you hear threats like that, what's the right response to it?
Well, I take it seriously, but I was talking to you, CEO, you cannot undo what's natural. You know, there's the rhetoric and there's the reality on the ground. These supply chains have been built for a reason. They've been built over decades. Parts would move 6 to 7 times across the border. And if you were to change that or suggest that, that would take probably decades and tens of billions. I doubt that any manufacturer would certainly need to see that because, as you know, an administration is 4 years. You're talking about massive supply chains that have been established for a reason, is to provide more competitive prices to consumers. There's a reason why you have this kind of supply chain. And so on one end, you need to be mindful. On the other end, I would say, listen, why don't we turn that around and look at, it's like when I started and the auto sector was under threat, I said that must be an opportunity. And that's where we landed Volkswagen, we landed Honda, we landed Stellantis. Why don't we turn that around and say, as part of the, there's going to be an NAFTA review, we have an auto pact. Why don't we look, for example, at a defense and energy pact with the United States and say, you know what? We're going to have to invest tens of billions in our collective defense in the next few years. Why don't we build these factories? We need to rebuild our industrial capacity. I'd rather invest that money in Canada and create jobs if we can build a defense industry at scale in the country. And on the energy side, listen, if you're saying no to Canada, you're basically saying yes to other nations because 60% of the oil that they import is from Canada. And I think U.S. consumers would be very scared at the pump if the price of gas were to go up. So for me, it's really I appreciate there's positioning and negotiation. We need to understand that. But at the same time, we have a lot on our side to offer. And you know what? Like on critical minerals, if our friends would not want our critical minerals, well, I can tell you that there's a number of nations in the world which would want our critical minerals. We signed an agreement with the Japanese. We signed an agreement with the European Union. So we have other access to market, but we need, to your point, to double down on what makes Canada special. What are going to be the things that the world is going to need, whether it's our allies in South Korea or Japan or South, or allies in NATO, and double down on these type of things? Because for me, Canada is the land of opportunity in the 21st century. When you have that, when you have the talent, the critical minerals, the ecosystem established, the energy, and you have access to market, you're in a great place in the world, which is pretty challenging these days.
Who wouldn't want to be prime minister of such a country?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, there's a list. It's growing. We do need to talk about it. You have an announcement to make, and people are waiting.
Yes. This was one of the questions I thought you'd be asking me, of all. Listen, I've been touched by the number of Canadians who have reached out across the country. I've been touched by the volunteers and organizers across the country who said we are willing to step up. I've been touched by colleagues who have said, we could use your leadership at this time. And I thought very carefully about that period. And I come to the conclusion that I will not be seeking to be the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada for the upcoming race. I will dedicate my energy to defend Canada, to defend Canadians, to defend Canadian businesses. It was probably one of the most difficult decisions in my life, but I think it's the right one at the right time. And so this is... Comme je le disais, parce qu'il y a des amis francophones aussi dans la salle, j'ai vraiment été touché par le nombre de Canadiens et Canadiennes qui m'ont écrit à travers le pays. Des gens que je connaissais moins, des gens que je connaissais plus. J'ai été touché par beaucoup de bénévoles qui nous ont demandé de dire Monsieur le ministre, on serait prêt avec vous. J'ai été touché par des collègues, beaucoup de collègues qui sont venus me voir en disant ton leadership pourrait nous aider dans cette période-là.
Where was this held, do you know?
Canadian Club Toronto. The Canadian Club Toronto, yeah.
Were they sipping whiskey?
Ooh.
Canadian Club.
So the person who was moderating the event was very smooth there in making the transition to that question. The reason why I'm having Mr. Grizzly keep on playing while it's going over French is because the next bit also matters because of the follow-up question that's kind of important.
Like I said, they're at the Canadian Club, so are they drinking whiskey?
Trust me, I always want to fight for Canada. And there's many ways to fight for Canada. You're fighting for Canada. Workers are fighting for Canada. Businesses are fighting for Canada. Families are fighting for Canada. I'm going to fight for Canada. There's many ways to do that, but I would say, the one thing I would say, let's keep fighting together because this is a moment, it's a momentous time for Canada. I've never been more hopeful about this country, and I always say, let's seize the moment, let's be ambitious. If there's one thing, as this might be one of my speaking engagement to talk about that. I would say, if I have a dream that I hope would be shared by all Canadians of all walks of life, an ambitious Canada. Let's be ambitious. Let's seize the moment. Let's be confident. Let's really embrace the 21st century as our century. And I think if we all collectively have that kind of energy and attitude, we're going to do well.
Will you run in the next election?
Can I take one decision at a time? Because this is already a big day for me, Amanda. You don't take lightly the opportunity to lead a country like Canada. Canada is the envy in the world. Canada is a beacon of prosperity. Canada is the land of prosperity. Canada is really a place where the future we can build, and we have a country to cherish. And one of the things I've seen over the last few years and months, that's why I started very strong and say, let's be proud. Let's really bring that, we have that as Canadians, part of our DNA. People who came in this country was not easy. A lot of people came here with their families from different backgrounds. They build their family, they build a story, they build success. And so I would say, for me now, today is already a big day. Not only because you and I are on stage with a few friends, but also because this is a big day and it was a very tough decision. But one thing I can say to you and all Canadians who are watching, I'll be fighting every single day for Canada in whatever capacity, because that's the country I love. This is the country we love. And this.
There we go.
I like that. I like that. I like what he has to say. And what his closing lines, this is the country of the 21st century. I think that's actually realistic today. When Sir Wilfrid Laurier was Prime Minister, he said the 20th century belongs to Canada. And he was a little premature. We were too small.
Might have been a century early.
Yeah, he was a century early. He was. I think the 21st century is ours for, I don't want to say taking, because we're not taking anything.
Reaching.
We're going to share and make the world better. It's ours for the improving.
I like that. So you can see, right? Another minister, get him alone in a context where he's talking about his thing, right? And there's a couple of other clips from that I could show you. He's got something about, like he said, things he calls the 5Ds, and looking towards AI and stuff like that, which is super interesting. This guy is on top of his file. So would have been a great candidate leadership race, is great where he is now. Again, if the party strategy is to project stability and competence while getting Canadians to look at their alternatives. Yikes. This is a good move. This is a pretty solid move. We often don't get a chance to see the ministers in action, because our politics now is so much about the person on top that even though he decided that he is not going to run, I wanted to show that bit just to say again, this is the quality of the people that are not running.
Yes.
And we have Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, Jaime Batiste, Karina Gould, Jonathan Wilkinson, in the quality of people who are running. Well, there's so much bench depth.
Put it into sports terms that a lot of Canadians can understand. Usually
the fourth line can score goals.
Well, this is it. Like, usually in a hockey team, the first line is your stars. The Tampa Bay Lightning a few years ago, the last time they won the Stanley Cup, they had 4 first lines. Literally had 4 first lines, and the best goaltender on earth. There was nobody going to beat them. The Liberals have 4 first lines. They really do. And I mean, where have these voices been for a while now?
And think of all the ministers that are not coming back, like Sean Fraser not coming back, and Pablo Rodriguez going to run for the Quebec Liberal leadership, which has kicked off today as well, it seems. There's 5 candidates, I think, or something. And then who else? Marie-Claude Bibeau is going off to be the mayor of Sherbrooke. And there's a whole bunch of Goody Hutchins who's leaving politics. There's... Right? All those people too. So you got the people that are not running again. You got the people that are not running for the leadership, and you got the people that are running for the leadership. And in each one of those groups, there are people.
They've got
could have been prime minister.
Quality members. And again, we haven't seen these folks come to the forefront in quite some time. I think it's because there's been so much noise and the media has just been bashing the hell out of the PM. I had somebody actually say yesterday, and I laughed out loud when I read it. And I responded to her with, if you think Robin Urbach is a fan and supporter of Justin Trudeau.
Oh, God.
I have some northern.
You've only read one of her columns.
Yeah, that's what it was. She read one column. She's just a cheerleader for Justin Trudeau. I'm like, are you high? Put the bong down, lady. Robin Urbach is the furthest thing from a fan or cheerleader for the Prime Minister of Canada. The furthest thing. She gave credit where credit was due in one article, and you think all of a sudden she's a cheerleader. But this is sort of the modern Reform Party mindset, because a progressive conservative doesn't look at that and go, oh yeah, because I have friends who are progressive conservatives, lots of them. And they'd be the first ones to say, oh, she is no fan of his. One article where they praise something good that he's done does not mean she's a fan. And trust me, she's not. She says one good thing about the guy and 50 bad things. So please tell me how that's a cheerleader. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of delusional people in this world who only see what they wish to see.
Yep,
they don't wish to see the truth, because the truth hurts.
Yeah. I'm looking through the chat. Kit Carol, the question you asked about security clearance that Kit Christian answered for you, he answered it perfectly. That's the same thing I would have said in there. So just so you know, I'm vouching.
Well, I have secret level 2. And they wanted me for a project I was supposed to work on. I filled out all the forms for top secret. I just didn't do the interview because the project changed. But just because you have the clearance doesn't mean you get any information. I'm in top secret level place. Well, up until recently, I'd been in many top secret meetings and levels. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm there to fix a broken item. Mm-hmm. I'm not privy to any information. They just need to make sure that if I hear anything, I won't repeat it.
Right.
There have been rooms where I've walked in the room and they said, eyes to the floor. Because if I see anything on the screen, I can't tell you where that was or what was going on or when that was. But I've had that happen more than once. You walk in the room, they go, phone gets locked up there. We're going to x-ray your tools, eyes to the floor. And they mean eyes to the floor. If they see you look up, they kick you out immediately. They're not joking around.
Yep.
I've been in places like that many times in my career. Just because you have the clearance doesn't mean you get the information.
Right.
Simple
it's
as
need
that.
to know.
They're not going to show me a damn thing. They just wanted to know that they could trust me to do the job there and not, plant a bug or anything like that. Because I even if I saw the information, I don't know what the hell it means. Like, you see a line of text on a screen. I have no idea what that means.
Yep. So. Indeed. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right, kits and cubs, that's the end of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crider Media Network. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouse from which we want the word to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us because it makes us happy when you do. Now, if you would like to not miss an episode, for example, if you catch us on podcasts, well, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page, podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. If you go there and click subscribe, boom, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, drops right in to wherever it is you listen to us. It's that easy. No fuss, no muss. Boom. Because
I'm
like
well
to serve.
behind right now, but that's my fault.
We're behind. I'll get
caught up. I'll get caught up, I promise. I'm trying to straighten out things with FeedSpot, which is what had us ranked as number 3 in the country.
Yep.
And now we've dropped off because we switched providers. We went from column A over to column B, and they don't see our show anymore. So I had a subscription. I was paying $30 a month for it, and I can't fix anything. So I canceled my subscription because why am I going to spend $30 if it's a completely... And I sent them an email about it, letting, guys, here's the problem. You've got it listed here, here, and here. None of those exist. Here's where it exists. I need you to fix it. No response. So I just said, I'm canceling, and this is why I'm canceling. And I haven't heard from them. So who the hell knows?
Yep.
Since we switched
maybe
from
it's canceled. Maybe it needs to be canceled, and then we re-register and they start us fresh.
But since we switched from Megaphone to Acast, we've had nothing but issues.
Yep. I'm even looking at this thing. We have a little eye counter that lets us know. Because and there are times where I see it's like it's over 1,000 in the last few days. It says like 52, 60 something. I don't know where it is that we're being seated, but
it's because of the fact up until recently where we're on multiple platforms, right? And
yes.
A lot of people watch us live. We were on a platform with 100,000 subscribers, which is why our numbers were jumping up. But we're not on that platform right now, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say, it's just we're not on that platform right now. So as a result,
there's some technical things going on. And
exactly. And our live numbers have dropped off as a result. That doesn't matter because people will watch us later. Not everybody gets up and watch us at 7 a.m, especially if you're out in BC where it's 4.
Yes, indeed. So if you click on that and scan that QR code, it'll bring you to our pod page, and then we can deliver straight to you. Well, gaily forward to you. Now, if you, well, Paul can deliver straight to you. I might take a bit of a circuitous path, but it will get there. Now, if you'd like to support us in other ways, maybe surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver YouTube page, where you can play with our buttons and like, share, and subscribe. Just waiting there for you. And if you give them a little tickle, well, we get ourselves some happy. So please do click on them. And plus they help us with the algorithm, which is really important. Now, if you'd like to help us in yet other ways, then, hey, have we got a deal for you where you drop us money and, well, we just keep on doing what we do. How's that sound? You go to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you go there, you will find the Emergency Hydration Fund, basically our tip jar. So if you like what we do and you would like to provide us with a token of encouragement to let us know that you would like us to do more, well, then we would appreciate your enthusiastic show of support by leaving us a little bit of coinage in our tip jar. Thank you so very much for all that you do. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, please do not worry. Enjoy Mademoiselle Lola, if you're watching, bringing you some calm and some love. And Mademoiselle Lola is saying, you don't need to worry about that because the gift of your attention and participation and scritches is really what matters. See, look, she's so happy that she's just happy that you're here. So, and she wants to hear from you, as do we. So write to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. She sees herself. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. And you can reach us at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, at True Eager, at the Bat Place, also at True Eager, at Facebook, True North Eager Beaver. That's our original place. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, we have the comment section just down below. So please let us know what you think, because democracy is something that you do. Kids and cubs, it's a liberal leadership race time, my friends. And it is important for you to get a membership by, I believe it is January 27th, if you want to be able to vote. And kids and cubs, again, I remind you, you do not have to technically be a liberal if you're just a concerned Canadian who doesn't want Pierre and knows that the NDP might not have a leadership race coming anytime soon, and you're not that impressed with Jagmeet, and you would like the Liberals to put the best possible candidate, one that you could vote for, even if you don't consider yourself a liberal, in terms of stopping Pierre, then get yourself a membership to the Liberal Party and cast your vote so that the person on the top of the ticket is someone that you helped choose, which might make it more likely that you will vote for them in order to stop him. There are still some things that we can do.
Indeed.
But we got to do them now, and we got to act fast. So January 27th, tell your friends. Remember, friends don't let friends do democracy alone. If you got other people, and you're saying like, this guy, absolutely, we have to stop him, and it absolutely has to be Karina Gould. Absolutely. She's the only one who could do it.
Whomever it is.
Then you need to vote. Yeah, but if this is what you think, then you need to get in there and you need to vote. If you think it's Mark Carney, but right. This is your chance to mobilize to make sure you get the candidate that you want, that you believe is strongest, to beat him, no matter what party you are in. So this is your right. There's nothing wrong with doing it. If you don't consider yourself a liberal voter, there's nothing against the rules. There's nothing immoral, illegal, or fattening about it. So go ahead. All right. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom.
Stay calm and carry on.
All right. One thing I mentioned yesterday, because when we were leaving, kind of, battery got a little hot and had to leave. When Mr. Grizzly showed you that thing about, oh God,
the thing about the guy in the place. Where's his shirt?
Me. Darn. Darn. It escaped me. But anyway, with regard to it, it had to. Oh, I like that. That's a good one. That's Theomedakis again.
Yeah,
that's Theomedakis.
It's two children outside of a public library in the city of Toronto, and it says, "People often forget about the little things that benefit from tax hikes. That, like us, people often forget about the little things that benefit from tax hikes, like us. Public libraries. They are your friend."
Indeed. So,
really got to go, dude.
Mr. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The dog's freaking out. Sorry. Really gotta go.
I've been trying to say this for 2 days.
We're 2 hours and 15 minutes in, man. We got to go.
All right. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.